morning and welcome back to Rise and Grind. It is the first week without John and I'm definitely missing my co-host, but I'm really excited for his beautiful, beautiful family and the time he gets to spend with them. It's also officially been 1 year since we started Rise and Grind, which is crazy. It feels way longer than a year, but to anyone who has stayed with us from the beginning, thank you so much. And please remember to share with any business owner, leader, or friend that you have who could benefit from watching these trends. Today is really exciting because there's a few real life events happening that are labeled as historical. The first is the solar eclipse, which if you are on the East Coast in the New York and New Jersey region, you should be experiencing the totality of the eclipse around 3 o'clock. But the next eclipse won't take place until August 2044. So this is a historical event, which is really exciting. And in addition to that, we're sending 3 rockets up to better understand what the eclipse looks like, which I find so fascinating that we have the technology to be able to do that. And weirdly enough, on the same day, speaking of technology, later today, there's going to be a test over at CERN. So they are going to be testing the world's largest and most powerful particle accelerator to essentially see what our universe is going to be made of. To me, that's a little bit scary. I don't know. Again, the technology we have is absolutely wild. What they're doing is essentially smashing 2 protons together through a 17-mile-long tunnel to recreate the seconds after the Big Bang Theory to see what that looked like. Again, technology is crazy. I think it's really cool that we have the ability to see that and study that. On the other hand, maybe we should leave dark matter where it is. I don't know if we should be messing with that entirely, but there's a lot of really exciting things happening today. All right, diving right into our trends. The first one that we have is with Discord, and you may or may not be on this platform. Discord's audience is mainly males between the ages of 16 to 34, and traditionally or originally they were really a gaming platform where you can go on and talk to your friends about anything going on in the gaming world. Today they're releasing ads which have historically been banned from the platform, but now they're starting to reintroduce ads specifically for video games. Again, looking at their audience, it makes perfect sense. I am curious as to whether they're going to open up ads for any industry or any brand, but right now they're sticking just with video games. So let's stay updated with that because I am really curious to see if there are going to be other brands who can come to the platform. It is an opportunity to reach Gen Z potentially, so stay tuned. All right, the next trend that we have here is with Sherwin-Williams, which is really interesting. There's something to learn from their latest marketing campaign. They released their Loneliest Color campaign, which they're marketing their least popular pink color. This is completely different from what they've done in the past. Previously, they've marketed their most popular color of the year, which has always been neutral, some form of a neutral. Now, their loneliest color, which is called Kingdom Gold. Over the past few years, they found that this color is often overlooked. It's really bright, it's really vibrant, and they wanted to add a little pizzazz to the TLC that color gets. So they've partnered with a few different fashion brands to push the color, and they're trying to reintroduce vibrancy into so many people's lives because, again, they're finding that homeowners are traditionally buying their creamy white or slate gray colors, whereas they want to have more fun in people's homes, especially with the recent events that have been going on. So what does this tell us as marketers or brands? Sometimes it's okay to give your least popular services or products that extra TLC, especially if you feel like it's a product or a service that your audience or your target market can benefit from. Maybe it just isn't well known or people don't know how to visualize it completely. Put some marketing dollars behind it, put a video together, find a way to advertise that product or service so that it is getting the attention it deserves. All right, Last week was April Fool's, and luckily I did not have any April Fool's pranks happen to me. Rob, did you have any happen to you? Oh, you lucky duck. We lucked out completely.
I didn't get to see John, so that's probably why.
Yeah, John didn't pull any pranks this year. It's funny because when we were all in an office before we moved virtually, we used to love April Fool's Day, just being able to be with everybody. This year looked a lot different, but for a lot of brands, they pulled their own individual pranks, and there's a few that I loved. IKEA released an entire collection that was the Invisible collection, essentially, where they pushed out invisible laundry baskets, transparent picture frames, colorless storage boxes. Obviously, it's not a real product because it was just, the marketing material was just socks on the ground instead of a laundry basket, or no picture frame when it was supposed to be a transparent picture frame. But what they were trying to share is that IKEA has products that help clean up the messes that are often invisible, right? Your laundry, you just throw into a basket. Your shoes scattered all over the floor typically go into maybe a little container. So it's a really interesting twist that they had, but it was still really impactful to the products that they provide as a brand. And then we have Dunkin' Donuts, who a few years back, I think it was around 2017, they dropped the donuts and just rebranded as Dunkin'. They posted a note on Twitter, which we'll have to showcase here. It says, "We're changing our name again. Now we're just donuts. We have coffee still. Please don't ask any questions. We're just going through it right now. Donuts." And that's hilarious. They even started sending or selling actual merch that just said donuts on it instead of Dunkin', and it is flying off the shelves because people are really, I guess, just enjoying the fact that Dunkin' Donuts can joke around about something that is so monumental. I mean, it's their brand name that they are throwing around that they're just changing, in a matter of a day. Really, they're not changing it, but it did get a few giggles in. We also have a few different food and beverage brands who, actually there were a lot of food and beverage brands that decided to partner or collaborate with each other to release some really just outlandish flavors or marketing materials. Kraft Mac and Cheese partnered with Fruity Pebbles to have a Fruity Pebbles mac and cheese, which I love mac and cheese. I'll try any mac and cheese. Fruity Pebbles, it's just not for me, but it is pretty nostalgic, right? I grew up with Kraft Mac and Cheese. I definitely grew up eating Fruity Pebbles, so the collaboration really hit home for me, but it's definitely not something that I would try. And then a newer brand that has become really popular over the past few months is Olipop. And Olipop is this soda, it's like a prebiotic soda that helps your gut, so it helps with gut health, and it's really good. But they partnered with Pringles, and they said, "Oh, we're releasing a new flavor. It's going to be sour cream and onion soda." Ew, definitely not up my alley. But again, it did get a lot of giggles in there. The point of all of this, especially around April Fools, is to push something out that is so wild. It makes somebody who's scrolling on social media or who just sees that asset stop and think, what the bleep? Like, what is going on? Is this real? Is it not real? Obviously, it's on April Fools, so you can kind of expect that it isn't real, but it does make you think for a second and get some laughs out in the process. So next year, when April Fools comes around, or maybe you want to start thinking about it now, especially if you're planning to collaborate with another brand, start having those conversations sooner than later so that you can plan for some really quality content that's going to make your audience stop and really consider what are they looking at, or maybe they don't even know about your brand. As an example, Olipop is a new brand. Pringles has been around for years and years and years and years. The fact that they partnered together, you're eating chips, you're drinking soda. Anyone who knows Pringles and sees that but doesn't know who Olipop is now might be curious about what Olipop has to offer and maybe the real flavors of their sodas that they have on the shelves. So it's a really interesting marketing tactic, but in today's day and age, I feel like it's just effective. People want to be entertained. They want to see things that make them have to think twice. So give it a shot next year. We'll see what happens. All right, and then the last topic that I have here is search generative experience. And this is something we've been talking about for weeks and weeks on end. There's different beta tests happening. Search engines are drastically changing, but the one thing I noticed when I was searching on social this past week is that when I'm searching from my phone, there is an AI-generated response that will answer my search query exactly, and it will start to list out the other websites where it got that information from. So what's happening is I get the response to my question immediately. I don't actually have to keep going down search engine listings to see what websites will have the best answer for me. Instead, I'm getting it right there. So it's going to completely change the way consumers search. So it's going to change search engine optimization as a whole. Kind of works similar to those SERP snippets where you want to be featured in that AI-generated response. So how can you do that? You want to make sure that you're pushing out quality content, not content that's written by AI, not content that is generic. Put in your real expertise, real life examples into any blog content, page content, and start structuring your blogs around specific questions. That is the best way to start to increase your authority and credibility on search and eventually start to appear in those different search generative experience responses. But if you haven't seen this on your phone yet, maybe give it an update, wait a bit. It still is in that beta phase, but it's really interesting to see. I mean, for me as a marketer and an SEO expert, I love looking at the changes on search engines, and I like to see who's ranking down the list. Honestly, in the past week, I haven't found a need to continue to scroll. So it is going to completely change consumer behavior. All right, those are all of the topics that we have this week, but just some motivation for the week. Right now, I'm reading the 5 a.m. Club by Robin Sharma, and there are so many incredible lessons throughout the book. I really like the way that it's written because it's written more like a story that you feel connected to rather than, just your other self-help book that teaches you a bunch of lessons. So if you haven't read it yet, definitely give it a try. But the one quote that really stood out to me that I'm focused on this week was in the book. It says, "Ambition without implementation is a ridiculous delusion." And when you think about that, to me, what that says is you can only daydream so far, right? You can think about all of the things that you want to do. You can come up with 1,000 good ideas, but if you're not implementing any of them, you live in this delusional world, or as Gen Z says, you're a delulu, right? So you have to make sure that you are actually implementing tasks along the way. Does it seem daunting, your big ambition? Maybe. Can you break it up into mini tasks and goals? You absolutely can. And the point of the book is that in the beginning hours of the day when the world is the most quiet, you can accomplish so much. You can accomplish what you're really passionate about. So this week, try to wake up even an hour earlier and do one task a day that gets you closer to that big ambitious goal, because at the end of the week, you're going to be 7 steps closer to that goal rather than still living in a world where you're just daydreaming about accomplishing what you've set out to be. So give that a shot. Maybe read 5 a.m. Club this week, and I will see you next week, Monday at 9 a.m. Remember to share again with any friends, coworkers, leaders, business owners that you love and care about, and create a great week.